I decided to get a Canary. I was driving past my fiancé's office building when I saw her, Sophia Claremont, straightening the collar on some handsome guy, one of her junior associates. The look on her face was tender, almost loving. "There," she said, her voice soft. "You'll always be my special boy. Just think of being with him as part of the job. A necessary evil. A necessary evil." So that's what our engagement, the strategic alliance between our two families, was to her just a job. The kind you dread every morning like a death sentence. Fine, if she didn't want the job, plenty of others were lining up for the position. I looked away from them, my eyes landing on a college girl walking by on the street. I gestured toward her to my driver, who also served as my assistant. "Find me a Canary." Her, that one looked promising. That afternoon, Bianca Frost was brought to my penthouse. The sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the light in her hair. She looked bright and pure, but the t-shirt, skirt, and sneakers she wore were well worn. Not just worn, but cheap. Still, none of it could hide the stunning face, especially those almond-shaped eyes that made you want to get a little lost. Sophia was the opposite. She was the one marrying up, yet she carried herself with the unbearable arrogance of old money. Bianca was different. She was like a porcelain doll, exquisite and beautiful, yet with an air of quiet acceptance. She knew her place. And right now, all I needed was someone to keep me entertained. Why would I want someone who talked back? Why create problems for myself? This was a transaction, pure and simple. So, why not choose someone who was actually willing to play the part? The moment Bianca spoke, I knew I'd made the right call. "I hear you're looking to take care of someone." Straight to the point. I liked that. She understood the situation. I narrowed my eyes. "Still, you have to be careful with these arrangements. One day, it's all whispers and champagne. The next, you've got a scandal on your hands and TMZ camped outside your door." But her directness was refreshing. If this was a deal, let's make it a comfortable one. I smiled faintly, glancing at the file my assistant had handed me. She was from some small town in Ohio, working-class family, a world away from Sophia Claremont's country club upbringing, top of her class at NYU, a real brain. And her figure, she wasn't skinny, but everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. I looked up at her, and she gave me a gentle, practiced smile. Beautiful, but something felt a little off, a little too rehearsed. I pursed my lips, a flicker of doubt crossing my mind. "Someone this eager, you had to wonder if she was clean. You seem to know the ropes. How many guys have you dated?" I phrased it carefully. People have their pride. I asked how many she'd dated, not how many she'd been with. "I've never really dated anyone," she said, her gaze steady. "You'd be the first." Honestly, I didn't believe her for a second. "My assistant will take you to a clinic for a full physical. If everything checks out, come see me." She just nodded. No questions asked. As she turned to leave, my eyes traced the curve of her back, the swell of her hips. "And for the record," I added, "I'm not into anything fake. It all has to be natural." A week later, Bianca still hadn't shown, but Sophia had. She was wearing the latest Chanel dress, clicking across the marble floor in heels that cost more than my first car. She was undeniably gorgeous. I'll give her that. She stepped out of her Porsche with that signature air of superiority, which was laughable. Most of her monthly allowance came directly from my accounts. The Claremonts had a whole brood of kids, and she was far from the favorite. She was here to see me. Of course, I was, for all intents and purposes, her benefactor. That icy, untouchable vibe of hers always drew men in. If everyone in my company didn't know she was my fiancé, there'd be a line of guys asking for her number. I remember a time when she'd smile and politely decline, saying she was already in love. I used to be arrogant enough to think she meant me. After all, we were engaged. I was incredibly generous with her, and that generosity was the key. Her standing in the Claremont family was shaky at best. Her life was mediocre until I came along. Not wanting me was the same as wanting to go back to being a nobody. The title of Ms. Caleb Vance wasn't something she could take for granted. It was a merger. Vance Capital provided the money. The Claremonts provided the beautiful daughter. A match made in corporate heaven, but if she couldn't even feign loyalty, then the whole deal was pointless. My assistant told her I was in a meeting, so Sophia waited in the glass-walled conference room. Before I even walked in, I saw her phone in hand, a bashful, giddy smile on her face as she texted. Yeah, I wasn't going in there. That look on her face, I didn't need to ask who she was texting. It was the guy from my assistant's file. Good for her, falling in love. The Sophia I knew had never looked at me with that kind of soft, feminine vulnerability. She was always the strong, independent woman. Turns out she was a hell of an actress. I wasn't angry. She wasn't worth it, but a part of me didn't get it. She should have been doing everything in her power to keep me happy. Our engagement had been a massive windfall for her family, elevating her status overnight. Then it hit me. The woman was an idiot. She thought the engagement itself was her leverage. She had traded her body and her future for those contracts and my money, and in her mind, it was a done deal. In our world, having a few pets on the side isn't a big deal. The problem is, you need to have the power to afford them. Sophia was basically a pet herself, and she had the nerve to try and keep one of her own. She was completely out of her depth. Ordinarily, the Vance family wouldn't have even considered an alliance with a family like the Claremonts, but I was desperately trying to avoid taking over the family business. Sophia just got lucky. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement, but let's be honest, the Claremonts were getting the long end of the stick. I used to let it slide because she was reasonably obedient, but you can't take the money and then not do the work. Lately, she'd been blowing me off, giving me attitude. It was always a last-minute meeting or a sudden business trip. I was annoyed, but I kept my cool, even sending my assistant to deliver gifts while she was away. My tolerance for her games had made them all think I was indispensable to her. Hilarious, I was just fulfilling the basic duties of a fiancé. The truth was, after I'd successfully maneuvered my older brother into the CEO chair and trained my younger brother to be his right-hand man, I was officially checked out. For me, marrying beneath my station was the perfect way to guarantee I could keep coasting to stay out of the corporate crossfire for good. I told my assistant to tell Ms. Claremont something urgent came up and I had to leave, walking out of the office without a backward glance. That night, my assistant, ever perceptive, had Bianca brought over. Along with her came a very detailed medical report. It turned out she was clean, a virgin even. The clinic confirmed it wasn't some surgical reconstruction. She was the real deal. Her outfit tonight was clearly my assistant's doing. The cheap clothes were gone, replaced by the kind of designer dress you'd see on a trust fund kid. I frowned. It wasn't really my style. She was beautiful, but it felt like a costume. Bianca was good at reading people. Before I could say a word, she was standing beside me, her movements smooth and deferential. Looking at that devilish figure, my mind started to wander. She smiled softly. "You don't like what I'm wearing, sir?" Her voice was a low murmur. "I can change." As she spoke, she naturally started rubbing my shoulders. Her touch was gentle, and I closed my eyes, relaxing into it. "Have you eaten, sir? Should I make something?" I didn't answer. Of course, I hadn't eaten. It was only 6 o'clock. She quickly realized it was a stupid question as the housekeeper brought our dinner to the table. "Come on," I said in a low growl. "Let's eat. It's going to be a long night." I think she caught my meaning because a faint blush crept up her cheeks. "Okay," she said, eating with an unexpected elegance, though she finished quickly. "Is it good?" I asked. Bianca nodded. "From now on, just tell the housekeeper what you feel like eating." She shook her head. "Anything is fine. I'm getting paid to listen to my employer." I understood, and for some reason, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Maybe this canary was a good investment after all. I would soon come to regret that thought. The scent she wore was intoxicating, and it quickly short-circuited my brain. "Sir," she whispered, her fingers tracing my stomach. "You have an 8-pack. Let me see if they're real." That was it. I was a goner. The allowed assault didn't end until the next morning. She barely let me rest. I looked at her, my body aching with a profound sense of defeat. "I think there's a mistake on that medical report." She blinked, confused. "What?" I glanced down at my trembling legs. It was hopeless. "There's no way that was your first time, not with those skills." Bianca bit her lip, a shy smile playing on her face. I spent a whole week studying videos on porn. I wanted to make sure you were satisfied. That level of customer service was just unparalleled." Finally, my body gave out. I blacked out, and when I woke up, it was already afternoon. As she helped me get dressed, Bianca timidly made her first request. "Sir, I like an internship at Vance Capital." I paused, a smirk playing on my lips as I looked at her. "It's only been 1 day. Don't you think it's a little soon to be making demands?" But she was stubborn. "The service I provide is exceptional." My face fell. This girl wasn't as harmless as she looked. Well, she was a senior in college. It was time for her to get an internship. But still, I dangled a carrot in front of her. "I'll think about it." Bianca opened her mouth to say something else, then stopped. "Sir, I'm very capable. I'm not just a pretty face." I knew that. Of course, I knew. Anyone who takes this path is looking for a shortcut. The smart ones know that looks alone won't get you to the top. I waved a hand, cutting her off. I'd wasted enough of a day. There was a pile of work waiting for me at the office. As I got into the car, I glanced back at her. She stood there looking soft and compliant. The sunlight hit her face just so, making her look like a young wife seeing her husband off to work. Yeah, if only she wasn't dressed like a siren. "Come home soon, sir," she called out. I rubbed my forehead. I was going to need a vitamin regimen just to survive. As we pulled away, I closed my eyes and spoke to my assistant. "Order her a new wardrobe and not just dresses. I think she'd look good in a pantsuit." My assistant paused for a beat, then simply said, "Yes, sir." By the time I finished at the office, I was exhausted mentally and physically. Today felt especially draining, probably because of last night's exertions. The Vance family, like most powerful dynasties, had its succession issues. My parents had 3 sons, and to be honest, we were all pretty sharp. Our lives were mapped out from the day we were born. The Vance empire was big enough for all 3 of us, but none of us really wanted the top job. It became a bizarre comedy of errors with each of us trying to push the responsibility onto one of the others. In the end, I was just better at the game. Sir, I jolted, my whole body tensing up. I opened my eyes to see Bianca standing next to my desk, a seductive smile on her face. What are you doing here? She leaned in and gave me a kiss, completely ignoring my blank expression. I was worried you hadn't eaten, so I brought you dinner. This Canary was ambitious. She was already transitioning into the role of personal assistant. Still, I was starving. An hour later, I still hadn't eaten. My assistant called, "Sir, Miss Claremont is here." Unbelievable. That woman always put on such a high and mighty act. She rarely came to see me unless I summoned her. She was getting way too comfortable. It was already dark out. What was her boy toy not satisfying her needs? I lit a cigarette, leaning back in my chair. Tell her to go home. I'm busy. There was a moment of silence on the line. I told her that, sir. She said she absolutely has to see you tonight. She's waiting in the conference room. I frowned and hung up. It had been a while since I'd actually seen Sophia. I turned to Bianca. You should go. I have something to take care of. She didn't ask questions, just obediently left. Soon, Sophia was shown in. She still had that arrogant look on her face that was starting to turn my stomach. No matter how beautiful someone is, that kind of distance gets old fast. Real warmth comes from closing the distance, not creating it. But tonight, there was a flicker of something new in her expression, a forced attempt at ingratiation. Caleb, she began. I heard Vance Capital canceled its contract with Claremont Industries. Her intuition told her I was involved. She was right. In the entire Vance empire, I was the only one who could make that call. Her entire status within her own family was propped up by the contracts I occasionally threw her way. I watched her, my expression unreadable, and her face hardened. Even now, she refused to lower that proud head of hers. Had she already forgotten who gave her the capital to be so arrogant in the first place? Caleb, has there been some kind of misunderstanding? We're about to get married. You can't just play games with our family's partnership like this. I cut her off. Vance Capital is willing to give Claremont another chance. Sophia looked stunned. She hadn't expected me to be so agreeable. This wasn't my usual style. Oh, Caleb, I knew you still love me. I didn't let her finish. The project is going out for public bid in a few days. Go back and get your proposal ready. Her eyes widened in disbelief, as if she'd heard something impossible. She fell silent. Of course, if Claremont Industries was qualified to win a competitive bid, she wouldn't be here begging me in the first place. Caleb, stop messing around, she said, her voice laced with impatience, though she was trying to hide it. It's a perfectly good partnership. There's no need to make things so complicated. I looked her up and down, and suddenly she just seemed average. Not as beautiful as Bianca, her skin not as smooth. She was even older than the girl, and her family status, from where I was standing, meant nothing. Ryan, I said, letting the name hang in the air. The color drained from Sophia's face. Caleb, why would you be interested in some junior associate of my company? I almost laughed. A junior associate? Since when did the vice president know? Every junior associate by name? Oh, I asked, playing dumb. He must be a real rising star for a VP to know him by name. Panic flickered in her eyes. Caleb, you're misunderstanding. I only know who he is because I've seen him around the office. Todd, her words trailed off, her expression freezing. I followed her gaze. On the leather sofa, a single pale gray stocking lay coiled like a sleeping snake. What had happened here earlier needed no further explanation. Sophia turned back to me, her face flushed with rage. She strode over and snatched the stocking from the couch. It was still warm. Caleb, how could you do this to me? She demanded. Am I not enough for you? You had to go find some cheap, classless woman. I was tempted to tell her Bianca was anything but cheap. But then I thought, why bother explaining myself to her? The ever-composed Sophia Claremont was finally losing her cool. Caleb, you know I love you. Why would you cheat on me? Her voice rose, cracking with a sob. She looked like a woman truly heartbroken. She really missed her calling. She should have gone to Hollywood. I looked at her, a half smile on my face. Sophia, who gave you permission to speak to me like that? I must have been too easy on her lately, letting her get the wrong idea about her position. Did she actually think we were equals? Sophia's face went pale. She never imagined I'd humiliate her so bluntly. Caleb, we're getting married. You're my fiancé. I was sick of hearing it. Sophia, have I been too nice to you? Let me be clear. Without the Vance family, you are nothing. So, stop playing the princess with me. Vance Capital gives your family contracts. I give you a massive monthly allowance. As far as I'm concerned, that's no different from any other Canary. Except you're not nearly as obedient. She was speechless, stunned by the sheer brutality of my words. I was done with her. I ended the conversation and walked out. She tried to follow, but my assistant blocked her path. Miss Claremont, it's late. I think it's best if you go home and get some rest. I bought Bianca an apartment in a building right next to my office. Her choice. She started bringing me home-cooked lunches every day and would insist on driving me back there after work. This went on for 2 solid months. I'd lost weight. She lit a cigarette for me, her touch deft. I looked at her with a hint of desperation. You can start at the office tomorrow. For once, Bianca didn't seem excited. Thank you, sir, but there's no rush. My internship doesn't technically start until next semester. I can use this time to help you recuperate. You're not in a rush, but I am. My back ached constantly, and I had permanent dark circles under my eyes. It wasn't that I lacked self-control. It was that the enemy was just too damn ferocious. I was already at my limit, and she still showed no signs of letting up. At this point, I was seriously questioning whether the service I was getting was exceptional or a form of torture. I had already raised her monthly allowance from $25,000 to $75,000, begging her to take a day off. That only seemed to make her more enthusiastic. I guess it was my own fault. 3 months ago, she'd been pleading with me, Mr. Vance, I want to intern at Vance Capital. And what did I say? We'll see how you perform. I regretted it. Her performance was off the charts. My hand holding the cigarette was shaking. I had to de-escalate the situation. What's wrong? Still have things to take care of at school. Over the past few months, when she wasn't perfecting her makeup, she was at the gym. All the skills she was learning seemed specifically designed to make my legs give out. I was starting to understand. It wasn't just men who could get hooked. Women were the same. Lately, my assistant kept looking at me with this worried expression, like he wanted to tell me to take care of my health. The next morning, I personally escorted Bianca to the office. She was a finance major, so she was assigned to the investment division. I brought her to the department head. This is a little sister of mine. Take good care of her. The manager understood immediately, obsequiously assigning her to be mentored by one of his top analysts. The truth was, Bianca didn't meet the qualifications for Vance Capital. We didn't even have an internship program, but there are always exceptions. Not only did she have my backing, but she was genuinely brilliant. Her ability to absorb information was incredible. Thank you, sir, she whispered to me later. Working at Vance is a dream for so many people. I gently tilted her chin up. I'm just giving you an internship. I never promised you a permanent position. Whether you stay or not depends on what you can actually do. She pouted playfully. Don't worry, sir. I won't embarrass you. Even if I am your little canary, I'm no porcelain doll. That night, for the first time, we just slept. I guess she needed to be sharp for her first day. And so Bianca's internship began. My life finally returned to some semblance of normalcy. The dark circles under my eyes started to fade. For a solid month, I was buried in a major project. The same one I'd pulled from Claremont Industries, now open for bidding. Sophia called me a few times. I didn't answer. She kept calling, and eventually I picked up annoyed. I never let her get more than a few sentences in before hanging up. On Valentine's Day, I received 2 gifts. One from Bianca, the other from Sophia. Bianca's was a pair of ceramic mugs she'd clearly made herself. They had clumsy little bears painted on them. Cheap but thoughtful. It made me smile. Sophia's was far more expensive, but utterly impersonal. A watch, probably worth $100,000. The moment arrived, my phone rang. She couldn't just walk into the building anymore. She had to get past security at the front desk. I answered but said nothing. She was silent on the other end. Finally, realizing I wasn't going to speak first, she did. Caleb, I know you still have feelings for me. Let's work this out. Our families have an agreement. We shouldn't let irrelevant people get between us. That Ryan guy, if you don't like him, I've already had him fired. And that girl you have, I won't say a word. Is that okay? I frowned. Where did she get this audacity? It seemed it wasn't just Sophia who was out of touch with reality, but the old foxes at the head of the Claremont family, too. They didn't want to lose the Vance family support, but they didn't have the guts to come begging to me, a man half their age. They really thought they were something special. I cut her off. We broke up. I'll have someone send the watch back to you. I thought I made myself perfectly clear last time. Apparently, some people are experts at pretending not to understand. I didn't have time to play these little love games with her. We never had a particularly happy relationship anyway. She was always acting like a princess, even in bed. Boring, but I wasn't a petty man. The investments I made in Claremont, I fully intended to get back. The only question was who I'd have do the dirty work. Sophia sounded like she couldn't process my words. Caleb, what are you talking about? I don't agree to a breakup. That little canary. If you like her, you can keep her. I won't be jealous. I can even be understanding about it. Wow, the Claremonts must be desperate. The proud Sophia Claremont, lowering herself like this. Incredible. She was about to say more, but I wasn't listening. I hung up and called Bianca, telling her to get ready to go out. It was Valentine's Day, after all. We might as well do something. Somewhere along the way, Bianca had become more than just a canary to me. To be fair, she was incredibly capable. Her manager had told me so multiple times, always in a tone of glowing praise. Her only flaw was that she wasn't particularly forgiving in her investment strategies. She was always targeting I'd let her handle the Claremont situation. The moment she got in the car, Bianca snuggled up against me. Her eyes were sparkling, and I could feel the temperature in the car rising. Sir, she purred. I don't think we've ever done it in a car before, have we? I was speechless. What the hell was going through this girl's mind all day? My monthly payments were certainly being put to good use. I could barely keep up. Sensing my mood wasn't great, she stopped teasing and just rested her head on my chest. Are you in a bad mood today? She asked, her voice a mix of coddling and concern. Yeah, I have a little assignment for you. Consider it your final evaluation for a full-time position. Her eyes lit up instantly. Tell me, sir, I can do it. I know you wouldn't be happy with me just staying at home. I gently stroked her cheek. The Claremonts, I said lazily. 1 month, bring them to their knees. Think you can handle it? Bianca nodded eagerly. No problem. I've been researching them for a long time. So the girl did hold a grudge. Good. A sharp knife in my hand was always better than a simple decoration. Sir, Bianca asked tentatively, should we go see a movie? To celebrate in advance, I just smiled and didn't object. So, we went to the movies just like a normal couple. By the time we finished dinner, it was late. When we got home, Bianca wrapped her arms around me from behind. Mr. Vance, I threw her onto the bed like I didn't want the same thing. Bianca moved fast, and she was ruthless. To be honest, everyone in the investment division was stunned. My assistant looked at me with a worried expression, hesitant to speak his mind. I knew what he was thinking. He was worried I was playing with fire, creating a monster I couldn't control. It's one thing to keep a canary. It's just a pet. But if what you're raising isn't a canary, you're in trouble. It's fine, I told him. Just keep an eye on her. I'm just using her to bleed the Claremont a little. Nothing major will happen. A month later, I ran into Sophia. I looked her over, or rather, she'd been waiting for me. Her beautiful face was etched with exhaustion. The arrogance was gone from her eyes. Caleb, we didn't have to take it this far. I really do love you. She even tried to muster up that soft feminine look. I knew why she was here. For the past month, Bianca had been relentless, pursuing the Claremonts with a vengeance, going far beyond the goals I'd set. My assistant had already uncovered the full story. It was almost impossible for the Claremonts to pull anything shady. Right under our noses, the whole thing with Ryan was a product of their own family infighting. There were too many Claremont children, and many of them were jealous that Sophia had landed a Vance. It was also Sophia's own fault for giving in to temptation. Who could she blame but herself? Lately, Claremont family members have been crawling out of the woodwork, begging for mercy. They even offered to swap in a different daughter for the engagement as long as I called off the dogs. As if I cared. Do they really think Caleb Vance was interested in seconds, or that the Claremont name carried any weight with me? Now here she was standing in front of me, her eyes filled with weariness, but also a newfound respect. You can't take a workhorse to Rome and expect it to come back a thoroughbred. I was starting to seriously question my own judgment. What did I ever see in her? I tried to remember. 3 years ago, my family was at war over who would be the next CEO. My older brother wanted me to do it. I wanted my younger brother to do it, and he wanted our older brother to do it. My parents just watched from the sidelines, enjoying the show. One night, furious, I went to a bar, got drunk, and ended up taking Sophia back to my hotel. The next day, I insisted on taking responsibility for what happened. I even moved to this city for her, officially giving up my claim to the throne. A year ago, my older brother finally took the CEO position with my younger brother's full support. I had successfully engineered my escape. During that time, Sophia was very good at playing the part. Our story was spun into a grand romance. I never held back on the money. Now, I guess she was realizing that her days of lavish spending were over, and she couldn't handle it. Or maybe she realized that without me, her status in her own family was gone. So now, she remembers everything I gave her. That must be it. No, 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 I said, shaking my head. You don't love me. You love the Vance contracts. You love the Vance money. A flash of humiliation crossed her face. Caleb, we were in love. Don't you remember? You took my first time. You said you'd take care of me for the rest of my life. I raised an eyebrow. So what? I don't like you anymore. Is that a problem? I have a thing about loyalty. Is that a problem? That shut her up. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. After a long moment, she gave a bitter smile. Caleb, I'm the only one who truly loves you. That little canary of yours. She's making a lot of moves behind your back. She slid a file across the table. It detailed how Bianca was secretly acquiring Claremont assets for herself. I just laughed, completely unconcerned. I wasn't interested in hearing any more from Sophia. I already knew about Bianca's little side projects. Besides, what woman without ambition would be with me in the first place? Everything she was doing, at least for now, wasn't hurting Vance Capital. In fact, it was bringing in extra revenue. I didn't care what her personal motivations were, as long as she didn't harm the company's interests. When Bianca got home, I was having lunch. She seemed to know that her little secrets were out. She approached me cautiously, her head bowed. Sir, did you? I paused my fork halfway to my mouth. I didn't know about her moves. But now, I was also a little angry. My own canary, hiding things from me. It didn't sit right. Was my pet about to fly the coop? Bianca spoke, her voice laced with guilt. Sir, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Hearing her admit it only made me feel worse. Whatever, let's just eat. The meal was silent. She wasn't her usual cheerful self, constantly darting glances at me. Are you upset, sir? I shook my head. No, just feels like my little canary is about to fly away. Panic flickered in her eyes. She was about to say something, but I stopped her. I'm hungry. Eat. Her face fell. After lunch, I ignored her and went into my study to work. It was after 10 o'clock when I finally went back to the bedroom. Bianca was kneeling on the bed, her head down. While I walked in, she looked up. She'd been crying. Sir, I was wrong. I sighed and reached out, ruffling her hair. Seeing that I wasn't pushing her away, she buried herself in my arms. That night, I was relentless, and so was she. The next morning, I looked at Bianca, who could barely move, and just shook my head. A week later, I had just finished a board meeting when my assistant came in. Sir, the Claremont family has declared bankruptcy. Miss Frost exceeded all expectations. I frowned. Why is she still at the company? My assistant looked helpless. Sir, you said this was her final evaluation. She passed. She's officially an employee now. Based on her performance, she's due for a promotion to assistant manager. My head throbbed. I made this mess. I had to clean it up. Fire her. She's right outside. Perhaps you should tell her yourself. The next second, Bianca walked in. My assistant had betrayed me. She was dressed exactly how I liked, in a sharp power suit. Every inch the successful executive. Before she could speak, my face went cold. What's this? A multimillionaire CEO who still wants a measly assistant manager job at Advanced Capital. Bianca smiled, a mix of hurt and affection in her eyes. Sir, I wouldn't be where I am today without you. I'm not leaving you. I shouldn't have hidden things from you, sir. Please, can you forgive me just this once? I said nothing, just stared at her. Why did I want her to leave? I didn't know it, it just felt wrong. 7 days ago, that morning, after a marathon session, I had just finished a cigarette when I turned to the barely conscious Bianca and told her our contract was terminated. She panicked instantly. Sir, I'm not leaving. I shook my head. This isn't negotiation. It's a notification. I didn't mind her ambition, but just because I was aware of her actions didn't mean she shouldn't have told me. As my subordinate, she could only take what I gave her. What I didn't give, she couldn't touch. I didn't want to make a scene. Bianca, when I chose you, there was one very important reason. You were honest. You were more honest than Sophia. Hearing this, Bianca fell silent. I don't like being betrayed, and I don't keep liabilities around. You should go. You don't need the money anymore. Go be the CEO of your new company. Suddenly, she dropped to her knees. No, I did all of this so I could be worthy of standing by your side. I waved for my assistant. Get her out of here, son. Since you broke off the engagement with the Claremont girl, I found someone new for you. You're going to love this one. Hearing my father's voice on the phone, my headache intensified. Can't a guy just live his life? Dad, there's no rush. I'm still young. I know you don't like these arrangements, son. Don't worry. Just meet her. She's a new CEO. Very impressive. Just see how it goes. I was stunned. I don't even remember when he hung up. Suddenly, I thought of Bianca. She had completely vanished from my life. Ungrateful woman. The truth was, I think I'd fallen for her. Why else would her hiding things from me have bothered me so much? It's because I wanted to change the terms of our relationship, but thinking about that now was pointless. She was a multimillionaire CEO. She wasn't my canary anymore. A few days later, my dad dragged me to a coffee shop, and there she was, Bianca Frost, standing across from me, confident and poised. Son, this is the woman I was telling you about. I'd like you to meet Bianca Frost, the CEO of Frost Industries. The smile froze on my face. I stood up to leave, but a sharp look from my father stopped me cold. Mr. Vance, Bianca said smoothly, could you give us a moment alone? Soon, it was just the two of us. What? I asked, my voice cold. She smiled, those beautiful eyes crinkling at the corners, and grabbed my arm. I know I was wrong, and I know that the only reason I was able to take down the Claremonts so quickly was because you were helping me behind the scenes. All those little moves I made, you allowed them to happen. Otherwise, those old sharks in the investment division would have eaten me alive. Seeing me silent, her expression turned serious. I'll give you my entire company. Is that okay? I can't protect it without you anyway. If that's not enough, then you can just keep taking care of me. I laughed. So, the woman wasn't a complete fool. Fine, I said, a grin spreading across my face. But you've been very naughty lately. Going to my parents behind my back, you're going to have to be punished. Bianca's smile was full of wicked promise. Sir, I have a lot of new equipment waiting in the bedroom. We didn't leave the room for 3